and welcome. Before we get into today's stories, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Also, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. In 1995, a 19-year-old college student was found dead in the woods near the University of Tennessee campus. Her body covered in strange marks and a pentagram carved into her chest. The killer wasn't a stranger or a man hiding in the shadows. The murderer was another teenage girl, Christa Pike, and she didn't just kill out of rage. She killed because she thought it would make someone love her. Pike was born on March 10th, 1976, in West Virginia. Her childhood was chaotic from the start. Her mother struggled with substance abuse, and her father wasn't really present. Christa bounced between relatives and spent much of her teenage life feeling abandoned and unwanted. By 18, she joined a government program called the Job Corps, a vocational training center meant to help troubled youth get a second chance. Christa was sent to the Knoxville campus, where she trained in food services. That's where she met a man who would soon consume her world, a fellow trainee named Darrell Shipp. Christa was instantly drawn to Darrell. He was into occult symbolism and dark imagery, things Christa found mysterious and thrilling. She became obsessed with him. But Darrell didn't feel the same way, and that imbalance would later turn deadly. Another student named Colleen Slemmer joined the program around the same time. Colleen was friendly, outgoing, and sometimes a little flirtatious. To Christa, she was competition. She became convinced, without evidence, that Colleen was trying to seduce Darrell. Christa's jealousy quickly turned to paranoia. She started telling others that Colleen was messing with her man, and that she planned to teach her a lesson. People who heard her say that didn't take it seriously. Christa was known for being dramatic, but she meant every word. On January 12th, 1995, Christa told Colleen she wanted to make peace, and invited her to take a walk to a nearby wooded area, with her, Darrell, and another student named Shadola Peterson. Colleen, thinking the tension would finally be resolved, agreed to go. The four students walked away from campus, heading toward an isolated spot near the University of Tennessee's agricultural campus. Once they reached the woods, Christa's tone changed. She began accusing Colleen of flirting with Darrell again. Colleen denied it, but Christa wasn't listening. Over the next 30 minutes, what started as an argument turned into a brutal assault. Christa and Darrell attacked Colleen, hitting her, kicking her, and taunting her. Colleen tried to run but couldn't get far. Christa picked up a piece of asphalt and smashed it against her head. Witnesses later said Christa bragged about hearing the bones crack. Darrell stood by and occasionally helped her. When it was over, Christa carved a pentagram into Colleen's chest. Before leaving, she took a piece of Colleen's skull as a souvenir. The group returned to campus, acting like nothing happened. Christa told people she'd done something crazy, but most brushed it off as another one of her attention-seeking stories. The next day, a jogger discovered Colleen's body. Police arrived quickly and realized this wasn't a random killing. The scene was ritualistic, deliberate, and filled with rage. News spread fast on campus and rumors started flying. Several students told investigators that Christa had been openly talking about hurting Colleen days before her death. One student even mentioned seeing her with a piece of bone that she claimed was from the girl she killed. Detectives soon learned about the tension between Christa and Colleen and decided to question Christa, Darrell, and Shadola. The moment investigators began pressing them, Shadola broke down and confessed. She told them everything: the jealousy, the fight, and the killing in the woods. When police confronted Christa, she didn't try to deny it. In fact, she bragged about it. She told them she wanted Colleen dead because she thought it would make Darrell love her more. Christa even drew diagrams of the crime scene, explaining where each event happened. She mentioned the pentagram on Colleen's chest and the bone fragment she kept as a trophy. The level of calm she showed during questioning shocked investigators. Physical evidence backed up everything Shadola said. Colleen's blood was found on Christa's clothes, and the skull fragment was later confirmed to belong to the victim.
The murder of 19-year-old Colleen Slemmer created fear and speculation among students and staff Friday. Knoxville police quickly dispelled any myths about the case with a break in their investigation.
It did not involve a university student. It did not occur on the bike trail. It was not a random or a stranger-to-stranger incident.
Police say the murder suspects were close to the victim.
The motive of the crime appears to be a love triangle. It appears that both of the females involved had been involved with the 17-year-old male.
The victim's partially dressed body was found in this brushy area Friday morning. An autopsy confirmed she was slashed repeatedly with a meat cleaver and some other small cutting device, perhaps a razor blade or box opener. Authorities say she was then beaten over the head with a large chunk of asphalt from this pile.
The injuries that Christa Pike caused to be inflicted upon Colleen Slemmer are almost beyond description.
It was at this location that Colleen Slemmer was actually pleading for her life, and Christa Pike showed her no mercy. The body of Colleen Slemmer ended up in this general area right over here.
She was dancing around in a circle.
Who was dancing around in the circle?
Christa.
Dancing around the circle while she was telling you about this?
Yes.
Was she doing anything else?
She was smiling.
Making any other noises?
She was kind of singing la la la.
It was one of the fastest confessions and evidence matches the Knoxville police had ever seen. Christa Pike was charged with capital murder. Tadurl Shipp, who was 17 at the time, was charged as an accomplice. Shadolla received immunity for her cooperation. In 1996, Christa's trial began, and prosecutors portrayed her as manipulative and obsessed with control. The jury took less than 3 hours to find her guilty and sentence her to death.
Her to custody of the warden at the Tennessee Prison and further, on the 12th day of January 1997, your body shall be subjected to shock by sufficient current of electricity. May God have mercy upon you. Mr. Bates,
can I please have a mom before I go?
Mr. Bates, please hold Miss Pike in the dock.
Please, let me just find my mom.
Please hold her.
I love you. I love you.
Making her the youngest woman on death row in the United States at the time. Tadurl was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Even in prison, Christa's behaviour remained erratic. She wrote love letters to Tadurl and seemed proud of what she'd done. Over time, though, her obsession shifted from jealousy to desperation. In 2001, Christa tried to escape from prison. Using smuggled tools and outside assistance from a former inmate named Justin Heflin. The plan fell apart before it began. Authorities intercepted communications and stopped the escape. After that, Christa was placed under tighter supervision. She spent years appealing her sentence, but every appeal was denied. Her case continued to draw attention as one of Tennessee's most disturbing examples of teenage violence, a mix of jealousy, obsession, and misplaced desire for affection that led to pure cruelty. To this day, Christa Pike remains on death row, still the youngest woman ever sentenced to death in Tennessee's history.
They think we might hide something in there. Well, breakfast is at about 6:30. Then I get up when it's time to go outside and exercise. Come back in and go to the shower. Come back, and I'm in here for the rest of the day until I go outside tomorrow.
Nobody that's going to take me out of this prison and send me to Disneyland to live. It's okay, Mommy.
Greeley, Colorado. This one takes the cake. It starts with a missing musician. Scott Sessions, a beloved 53-year-old trumpeter, just didn't show up for a gig, completely unlike him. People started asking questions. Where was Scott? What had happened to him? And what they eventually discovered was something straight out of a nightmare. Scott wasn't just missing. He was dead, burned alive in the middle of nowhere. Even seasoned investigators were shaken. The crime scene was grim, remote, and unlike anything they had encountered in the region.
At the Monument Gulch exit, and I have a dead body.
Okay, we'll get help on the way. Are you able to provide any details?
Well, there was a tree on fire, and I went up to put it out, and he's laying next to it.
Okay, and do you believe he's got any help?
Yeah, he's definitely passed away.
It became clear that this wasn't just an accident. It was intentional and terrifyingly personal. Scott Sessions wasn't just any musician. He was the heart of Greeley's music scene, known for his humour, talent and dedication. Born in March 1966 in Ogden, Utah, he moved to Greeley young, went to high school there, and eventually earned a music degree from Brigham Young University. He played in multiple bands, including the Movers and Shakers and the Elvis Experience Band, and his trumpet wasn't just an instrument, it was his life. He also ran a painting business to pay the bills. For the town, Scott was larger than life, always performing, always supporting other musicians, always present. His presence at local gigs was a constant reassurance for other artists, and his absence quickly became alarming. His passion wasn't just for music, it was for people, community, and the energy of live performance, which made his sudden disappearance even more shocking. February 10th, 2020. Scott didn't show up for his gig with the Elvis Experience Band. Odd enough, but then people noticed something stranger. No one had seen him since February 8th. Concerned friends and bandmates went to his house braving a blizzard, but there was no answer. The next morning, a snowplow driver driving about an hour west of Greeley saw smoke off the road. Approaching, he found a tree smouldering, and next to it a charred corpse wrapped in a blue blanket secured with duct tape. Tire tracks in the snow confirmed someone had dragged him there. It was Scott Sessions. He hadn't just disappeared, he had been brutally murdered. Investigators quickly realised that this wasn't random. It was meticulously planned, and the remoteness of the scene meant the killer wanted Scott found in this exact, horrifying way. The town that had always felt safe was suddenly facing a nightmare. Police started tracking Scott's last movements. His car was missing from his house, suggesting he had gone somewhere he didn't want to be tracked. They found his last messages were with Heather Frank, a 48-year-old diner server he'd only been dating for a couple of weeks. Heather was charming, a mother of 3, a jazz fan, but she had a history with alcohol. Scott's last known interaction was messaging Heather on the evening of February 8th, the night he was last seen alive. Meanwhile, surveillance and tracking revealed Kevin Eastman, Heather's ex-boyfriend with a violent past, had also been at Heather's house the same night. Was Heather complicit? Was Kevin? Or was there something else entirely? Every clue seemed to point in multiple directions, leaving investigators and the town stunned. Even Scott's friends and family were unsure who to trust, making the investigation as psychologically complex as it was grim. Tracking devices and surveillance showed Heather and Kevin moving around Greeley and nearby areas like nothing had happened, going about normal routines even as Scott's charred body had been discovered. Kevin carried weapons and showed disturbing behaviour, but Heather appeared calm. Police observed them visiting remote properties, one of which would later become critical. It was clear something horrifying had occurred inside Heather's home, but the full scale of the crime wasn't visible yet. Every new piece of information raised more questions than answers. Who did what, and why had Scott ended up burned in the snow? The tension ratcheted up as investigators realized they were tracking people capable of extreme violence, living a double life while everyone else assumed they were ordinary neighbors. After a week of surveillance, investigators found Heather Frank's body on a remote property. She'd been shot twice in the chest and hidden under a pile of wood, the same strategy used to try to dispose of Scott. Kevin Eastman, it appeared, had been controlling and terrorizing her the entire time. Heather hadn't gone to the police because she feared what Kevin might do, not just to her, but to her 3 sons. This revelation shocked even seasoned detectives. The sheer level of planning, cruelty, and control Kevin exercised was terrifying and rare in their experience. Kevin Eastman was arrested with weapons and bloody evidence on him. He told a convoluted story claiming Heather had a hand in Scott's death.
So when was the last time you actually saw Heather? It was yesterday. We went to, yeah.
So she lives at, 2162 35th Avenue Court? Okay, I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget it, 35th. Okay, and is she there now?
Do you know what time it is?
It is almost 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday.
No, she's at work.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked her to marry me. Yeah. Yeah, but I asked her to marry me. And she said, there's no way she can marry me.
Okay.
And so
how'd that make you feel? Heard or seen stuff in the news about somebody disappearing from Greeley. Do you know anything about that?
Is it musician? Yeah, there was something that happened between them.
Okay.
And yeah.
I can tell just based on your facial expressions that you know some stuff that's going on.
Well, I remember she started crying. It's real personal. I really felt sorry for her. It came out that she had intimate relations with him.
Oh.
And that it wasn't like really... Oh, man. I'm trying to think of the right words, but it wasn't mutually agreeable. It's kind of how she made it sound.
We know that he was with you and Heather the night before at Heather's house. And then we found him on Monday in Pingree Park. Why don't you just say his name? You can say his name. Scott. Okay? You're having a hard time saying his name.
Yeah, like I never did it, dude.
You met him Saturday night.
Police discovered Kevin had orchestrated Scott's murder, hiding the body, manipulating Heather, and ultimately killing her when she refused to comply with his demands. Every piece of evidence pointed to Kevin. Scott's blood on Kevin's clothing, Kevin's DNA on the shroud covering Heather's body, and GPS tracking placing both suspects at critical locations. The horrific truth was undeniable. Kevin had killed both Scott and Heather, exploiting fear and obsession to maintain control. Even in court, the story unfolded like a horror movie grounded in reality, leaving the jury no choice but to convict. Kevin Eastman was tried in 2020 and found guilty of first-degree murder for both Scott Sessions and Heather Frank. The jury saw the overwhelming evidence of his violent jealousy, control, and premeditation. Kevin was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring he could never harm anyone else.
Victim Stanley Scott Sessions. The verdict reads, we the jury find the defendant Kevin Dean Eastman guilty of murder in the first degree after deliberation. As it relates to count number 2, murder in the first degree involving victim Heather Frank. The verdict reads as follows. We the jury find the defendant Kevin Dean Eastman guilty.
It was just after 2:25 p.m. on March 3, 2011, when a 911 call came through from a quiet home on Salmon Drive in Pasco, Washington. The dispatcher heard what sounded like a gunshot, followed by a woman yelling, "Get it off! Help!" Then the line went dead. When dispatch called back, another woman answered. She calmly said a fire alarm had gone off while she was changing the battery. Nothing to worry about. But minutes later, neighbours heard more gunshots, and when police arrived, they were met by a woman at the door who said, "She came at me with an axe." Inside the house, officers would discover the body of 58-year-old Judy Hebert, lying in her bedroom doorway, and standing outside was her own daughter, Tasha Stewart. Before the gunshots and chaos, Tasha Stewart's life seemed messy but ordinary. She was born in 1973 and, when she was only 6 months old, went to live with her aunt and uncle Judy and Ralph Hebert. Judy and Tasha's mother were twin sisters, and by age 5, Judy officially adopted Tasha as her own daughter. Growing up, Tasha was described as rebellious and hard to control, the kind of kid who always wanted her own way. As an adult, she became a certified nursing assistant, but stability wasn't her strong suit. She fell in and out of relationships quickly, In 2004, she had a daughter with a man named Charles, but the relationship didn't last. Soon after, she married Todd Stewart, a decision that would eventually pull her entire family into a dark spiral. By early 2011, Tasha's marriage was struggling, and both she and Todd were out of work. They decided to move into Judy's house in Pasco, Washington, along with Tasha's 7-year-old daughter. Judy, newly divorced from Ralph, was trying to rebuild her life and didn't hesitate to help her daughter. She bought a modest 3-bedroom home and welcomed them in, but tensions started building fast. Judy was in her late 50s and meticulous about her home. Tasha and Todd were messy, unemployed, and constantly short on cash. No one realized that this temporary living arrangement would end in violence, one that Judy herself predicted. On February 20th, 2011, just 11 days before the shooting, something strange happened. Todd asked Judy to help him measure the garage floor. As she followed his instructions, an 18-gallon plastic bin filled with books suddenly fell from the rafters, striking her on the head. The bin weighed over 30 pounds. Judy was knocked to the ground, dazed. Instead of calling 911, Tasha phoned her father, Ralph, asking for the combination to Judy's safe, saying she needed her will and do not resuscitate order. Ralph was stunned. Judy was hurt, not dead, and he told her to call for medical help instead. Judy survived, but grew suspicious. She told neighbors she believed Tasha and Todd had tried to kill her. She even came up with a code word, lavender, to secretly signal her neighbor if she was ever in danger. To everyone else, it looked like a freak accident. But Judy didn't think so. In the days following the garage incident, Judy's paranoia grew, and so did the tension inside the house. On March 1st, Todd packed up and moved out, leaving Tasha and her daughter alone with Judy. He'd had enough of the constant fighting and strange behavior. Judy began telling neighbors that Tasha had been stealing from her bank account and tampering with her medication. She even showed one friend the disturbed dust in the garage rafters, proof she believed that the bin had been deliberately moved. Meanwhile, Tasha was acting anxious and secretive. She was caught recording her mother entering the safe, apparently trying to capture the combination. Police later discovered she had searched online for safe cracking tutorials. Then, on March 3rd, the situation finally exploded, literally and figuratively. That afternoon, the 911 call went out, followed by gunshots. When police arrived at the house, Tasha greeted them at the door, visibly shaken but strangely composed. She said, "She came at me with an axe." Inside, Judy was found dead with a single gunshot wound to the chest. The bullet had passed through her hand first, as if she'd been trying to protect herself. A utility hatchet lay near her body. In her statement, Tasha said that her mother had accused her of stealing money and attacked her. She claimed she only fired in self-defense, using Judy's own .357 Magnum revolver from the safe. But investigators quickly realized something didn't add up. Judy had been on the phone when she was shot, possibly making that 911 call. There was also a folder with bank documents in her hand, papers that detailed the unauthorized withdrawals. If Judy had really been swinging an axe, how could she be holding all that? As detectives dug deeper, the story unraveled fast. Judy had confided in multiple people that she feared her daughter was going to kill her. She even told her ex-husband, Ralph, that Tasha and Todd were messing with her medication. There were text messages, witness statements, and even testimony from Tasha's ex, Charles, who said she'd once offered him $1,000 to help forge Judy's will, and told him that Judy should be dead in a few days. Investigators also found that Judy had recently changed her will, removing Tasha entirely and leaving everything to Ralph to manage for their granddaughter. A copy of the old will was found in Tasha's room. Everything pointed to motive, planning, and cover-up, not self-defense. When the case finally went to trial in 2013, the jury heard all of it. After a 5-week trial, Tasha Stewart was found guilty of first-degree murder and first-degree attempted murder. She was sentenced to 45 years in prison, meaning she won't be eligible for release until 2054, when she'll be in her 80s. Her husband Todd was also charged in connection with the earlier garage incident, but was ultimately acquitted for lack of evidence. As for Tasha, she still insists she acted in self-defense, but the story told by neighbors, family, and physical evidence paints a much darker picture. A daughter who turned on the woman who raised her. A case that started with a freak accident in a garage ended with a mother's murder and a lifetime behind bars.